You're alone in your room searching for your car keys. Suddenly you hear your own voice say out loud, "Where the hell are these keys? I remember clearly." Then a thought flashes through your mind. Am I losing it? No, you're not losing it. Actually, you're activating a mechanism that the human brain has evolved over thousands of years to survive. And if you watch this entire video, you'll understand why the most successful people are those who clearly understand how their own minds operate. Society teaches us that talking to yourself is a sign of abnormality. The woman on the bus muttering something, the neighbor talking to plants in the garden. We glance at them with suspicious eyes. But when you yourself talk in the shower, replaying an argument from 3 days ago, that's just thinking out loud. It's strange how we judge in others what we do ourselves when no one's watching. Imagine someone named Mark. Mark is 28 years old, works remotely, lives alone. Every morning he wakes up, goes to the kitchen, looks at his coffee and says out loud, "All right, one more day." It sounds meaningless, but that very phrase is what keeps Mark from collapsing. Mark isn't talking to the wall. He's negotiating with the anxiety that woke up with him. When standing in the supermarket looking for olive oil, he mutters, olive oil, where the hell is it?" That's not insanity. That's his brain maintaining focus. So what's the truth? Talking to yourself isn't a system error. It's a tool. Neuroscience research shows that when you vocalize something into words, the brain processes information differently. It's like activating two systems simultaneously, the thinking system and the listening system. Remember when you read a passage out loud, it imprints deeper in your memory? Exactly. External language organizes thoughts and memories into structure, but it goes even deeper. Humans are social creatures. Our brains evolved to dialogue, negotiate, explain. When alone, the brain can't handle silence well. Your entire life, you've talked to others. Your brain learned that speech organizes chaos, resolves conflict, expresses emotion. Then suddenly you're alone, and the storm of thoughts continues. What does the brain do? It uses the most familiar tool, speech. Only this time, you're both the speaker and the listener. No, this isn't schizophrenia. When you talk to yourself, you know it's you. You're in complete control. Let me show you the 3 main reasons this phenomenon occurs and why it's so critical to mental survival. First, cognitive organization. The brain receives about 11 million bits of information per second, but only consciously processes about 40 bits. The rest floats around, creating mental noise. When you say out loud, "Need to pay bills, buy bread, call mom," you're creating a priority queue. Speech combines movement, sound, and intention. 3 brain activation factors at once. Second, emotional regulation. Have you noticed that when stressed or anxious, you talk to yourself more? That's no coincidence. Talking to yourself helps process difficult emotions, reduces stress. When you say, "It's okay, everything will be fine," you're calming the nervous system. When you externalize an emotion into words, you create distance from it. Instead of, "I am anxious," it becomes, "I am feeling anxiety." You step out of the storm and observe it from outside. Third, disguised loneliness. People who live alone or spend much time isolated tend to talk to themselves more. Not because they're losing their minds. It's the brain compensating for the absence of social interaction. You go all day without exchanging a word with anyone. Come home, the silence becomes deafening. So you start narrating your actions. That's not pathetic. That's human nature. You're keeping the social part of your brain active. After the pandemic, this phenomenon exploded. Self-talk became a survival mechanism. Young Vietnamese people, Generation Z, went through the years 2020 to 2021 with unprecedented isolation. They discovered themselves automatically converting internal dialogue into audible speech, not because they're crazy, but because the brain isn't programmed to endure prolonged social voids. But I need to be honest about something. There's a difference between talking to yourself as a tool and talking to yourself as an escape. If you talk while doing tasks or processing emotions, no problem. But if you're creating obsessive imaginary conversations, isolating yourself because you prefer talking to yourself over others, that could be a sign of chronic anxiety or loneliness turning into depression. The line is thin, but it exists, and you feel it when you cross it. Scientific studies prove that self-talk improves performance in cognitive tasks and problem-solving. Not just harmless, but actually beneficial. Children talk to themselves all day when playing. It's essential for development. The problem is, when we grow up, we learn that adults don't do that. But adults who maintain this habit are using a tool that should never have been abandoned. Creative people, writers, artists, scientists often report talking to themselves during their work process. Einstein talked to himself. Nikola Tesla, too. That's not insanity. That's method. Great minds aren't afraid to use every available tool to think more effectively. They understand that controlling how the brain processes information is controlling reality itself. But what's the deeper truth? We don't actually worry about talking to ourselves. We worry about what it reveals. When you catch yourself talking alone, what scares you is realizing you're perhaps lonelier than you want to admit. It's realizing you're processing so much internally that you had to push it out somehow. Self-talk is a mirror, and mirrors sometimes reflect what we don't want to see. But seeing is the first step to change. Awareness is the foundation of power. People unaware of their behavior are controlled by it. People who are aware, they seize control. That's the difference between those pushed around by life and those who shape their own lives. So here's my perspective. You should stop judging yourself for talking to yourself. You're not losing your mind, you're not weird, you're using one of the most ancient and effective tools the human brain developed. But you also need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Not with guilt, but with curiosity. If you're using it to organize your mind or calm yourself, excellent, continue. But if you're talking to yourself because there's no one left to talk to, or because you're avoiding talking to real people, perhaps it's time to look at this more carefully, because self-talk can be a tool, but should never be a replacement. You deserve to be heard, not just by yourself. Humans are born to connect. Our brains don't just need to process information, they need to share that information with others. That's how we build meaning, create value, exist in this world with weight. Young Vietnamese people face a paradox. They're more connected than ever through technology, but lonelier than ever emotionally. They have thousands of friends online, but no one to really talk to. And the brain, not designed for this type of virtual connection, starts finding its own ways to fill the void. Self-talk is one of those ways. But if you understand this mechanism, you can use it intentionally. You can turn it into a weapon to enhance focus, regulate emotions, maintain mental health, or you can recognize it as a warning sign, a signal that you need more real connection in your life. Both are valid. Both are important. Knowledge of how the brain operates isn't just information, it's power. People who understand the machinery of the mind have superior advantages in every field: business, creativity, relationships, life. They're not controlled by instinct, they direct it. They don't fear their psychological quirks, they exploit them. So go ahead. Keep talking to yourself if you need to. But don't forget to talk to others. Don't let the tool become a prison. Don't let the survival mechanism become a way to isolate. You're stronger when connected, not when separated. And your brain, though capable of operating independently, always functions best when others are in the equation. This isn't just a lesson about psychology. This is a lesson about living a conscious life, about seizing control of what you think, feel, and do, about turning understanding into action, action into results, results into the life you actually want. And it all starts with looking straight into the mirror, even when it reflects what you're not ready to see.